It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Mike. It's been a while. The 20th of July 2017 is a day etched irreversibly into the minds of all rock fans of my generation. An horrific day, a seminal moment, the end of what remained of our innocence, the day Chester Bennington took his own life. I remember feeling shocked but not surprised. As should be obvious from this YouTube channel, I've always been someone who reads between the lines, and I remember being aware of Chester's vulnerability from the moment I heard Breaking the Habit for the first time as an 11-year-old. The traumas he suffered is something that I thankfully do not share with him, but the sentiments he expressed through his art are absolutely ones that have always resonated with me. And so when Linkin Park announced that they were coming back, more than 7 years later with a new singer, I was intrigued but hesitant. From that first concert where they brought the new vocalist Emily Armstrong out for the first time, I was in. She had the chops to hit Chester's parts, but was different enough so as not to sound like a cover artist doing the classic LP songs. The only hesitance I had with her came from a man that she appeared to defend. I need to be careful which words I use here, as YouTube is a moronic platform that blocks certain words from being said. You know what, I'll just mention that I also have people that I was friends with as a child who are now in jail for that one thing, as well as some other things. So I understand wanting to not believe that your friend would be capable of such things, only to realise that they did, in fact, do it, and to then have to abandon them and come to terms with the idea that they never really were the person that you thought they were. With that skirted around, my main hesitance was with the music itself. The best Linkin Park album since Meteora is Post-Human by Bring Me the Horizon, and they released a sequel to that not long before Linkin Park was set to release their own album. Are Linkin Park even the best Linkin Park anymore? I'm Royston Charmaine, and this is Exploring the Concept. So as I mentioned, I had my reservations before listening to the album. Like a legendary boxer making a comeback decades past his prime, can Linkin Park still swing with the big boys? Now, back in their heyday, Chester and Mike would not only sing together but would also write lyrics together, and to be honest, I always found Chester a more effective writer. As time went by in Linkin Park's original run, it felt like Mike took more and more control over the sound of the band, much to their detriment in my opinion. With this new album being heralded as a return to their classic sound with a modern twist, will Mike be able to pull it off? Traditionally, this series focuses on the themes and meanings of the lyrics, and we're going to do that here too, but I'm also going to give my opinions on the tracks and reflect on how they compare to what I expected and what I wanted from a modern Linkin Park. So, let's take a look from zero and see how high the score can climb. As ever, the opinions and interpretations expressed in this video are my own, and are in no way influenced by anything the band or anyone else has said or written.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Emily Armstrong.
So let's begin the Meteora comparisons right here, as we open with an instrumental that leads directly into the first track. Not as smoothly as Forward did, but a skit with someone I presume is Emily, wondering what the album title means being cut off is still pretty fun. Not sure why she's confused though, it's pretty self-explanatory. The first track proper begins muted, Mike singing alone and a piano and a drum beat that have both been run through a harsh low-pass filter. Your blades are sharpened with precision, flashing your favourite point of view. I know you're waiting in the distance just like you always do. The imagery of knives speaks to an anticipated violence, but this is likely less literal and more indicative of a perceived verbal attack. This is someone that has given us a tongue lashing before, someone who has a view that opposes our own. This is a hater's song. Already pulling me in, already under my skin, and I know exactly how this ends. We do not fear the incoming attack, and we are more exasperated that this is still happening even after all this time. We wish that we could just skip to the inevitable end and not have to deal with the tedium that awaits. I let you cut me open just to watch me bleed, gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. More hater responding / preempting here, as we prostrate ourselves to our critical audience, allowing them to take their shots and impact the art that we had hoped to create. Maybe this old school style isn't what they wanted to create, but what they were strong-armed into. Don't know why I'm hoping for what I won't receive, falling for the promise of the emptiness machine. And yet despite changing ourselves to fit their image of us, we know that they'll still hate it anyway, so it was all worth nothing. It's at this point that new vocalist Emily comes in, along with the instrumentation proper, kicking the song into a higher gear as the true direction for the ire is exposed. Going round like a revolver, it's been decided how we lose, because there's a fire under the altar I keep on lying to. We're indecisive, unsure of which path to take, but this deliberation is futile as the end result is an inevitability, like a game of Russian roulette. Our belief system is crumbling because of this, but we refuse to accept that these outside forces are affecting us so badly. I only wanted to be part of something. I only wanted to be part of the emptiness machine. The only reason we did any of this was in an effort to find somewhere we belong. And with that said, that's the comparison I have to draw. But where Somewhere I Belong feels introspective as most Chester songs did, this feels extrospective, focusing on how other people affect our idea of self rather than how we define our own worth. Now, normally, listening to songs over and over and over again in order to write these essays dilutes my enjoyment of them, but I think I like this one more now. Let's see how I feel after I've edited the video, and as that involves even more repetition. But for now at least, I'm enjoying how this song escalates and builds to its second chorus only to break down and build again. Tried and tested formula for sure, but formulas exist because they work. This is a good song, high energy, sonically interesting without becoming overcrowded. I could do with some more meaty lyrics though. Okay, I'm writing this first note before playing the song or looking at the lyrics because a song called Cut the Bridge that's written by a music nerd like Mike Shinoda has a chance to do something really cool. By the way, I use the term music nerd as a compliment, I too am one. Obviously look at the videos I make. Anyway, if this song goes verse, bridge, chorus, and then verse straight to chorus, I'll be so happy. Here we go for the 100th time, hand grenade pins in every line. Just kidding, but it does sound like that, doesn't it? Same rhythm and cadence. Is this going to be a more Minutes to Midnights vibe? You're too ignorant to fail. I can't look you in the eye, and I can't even tell if you've been telling me a lie. Too ignorant to fail is an interesting opening line, as it can only really imply that this person does indeed fail constantly, but they like the smell of their own farts so much that they don't even recognise it. This is perhaps why it's so hard to tell when this person is lying, because they believe their own bull. Every time you start, it's like the 4th day of July, reckless like you're making rockets just to blow up the sky. Now, I know enough about my US history to know that the 4th of July is the date when the British people over there defeated the British people over here and officially declared themselves British no more. Some kind of argument about taxes and tea, I think. I also know that you guys shoot off fireworks to commemorate this occasion, and that's what this scheme is alluding to. As for the meaning of these lyrics, I think the word reckless is the key one, as well as implying that the destruction they cause is somehow righteous. I'm feeling very George Bush Jr. on this one, very 2003. Stuck on repetitions that are only hypothetical, acting like the truth and your opinion are identical. No, this is definitely about Fat Don, isn't it? Repeating points that have little to no basis on reality and asserting them as if they're facts is pretty much all that the Orange Monster does. That and... everything was perfect. Always made me nervous knowing you would burn it just to watch it burn. I love how the song drops out for this pre-chorus, allowing the music to feel anxious and fit what the lyrics are expressing. It's a shame that the part that follows doesn't do the same. This very much fits how the liberals of America must feel watching their country fall to the right further and further by the day. Almost makes you wonder if you should just cut your losses. Cut the bridge we're on, cut it down, sabotage it all just to watch it fall. This could be expanded upon what the pre-chorus and verses alluded to, an outside force sabotaging the world that we are trying to build. But personally, I read this as a self-sacrifice. Better to kill it all than to let them ruin it and bastardize it into their twisted vision. I just wish the guitars came in a bit heavier for the chorus though, especially for one that preaches destruction. I'm too gullible to win, I don't have a way to choose. Grew up thinking try and make you never really lose. A great flip from the first lines of the first verse, comparing himself to his enemy and bemoaning the fact that he appears to be coming out on the losing side. This verse admits culpability and defeat, addressing our own naivety. Wanna go to the light and not the shadow, but the branch isn't as shiny as the arrow. That's a really, really good line. The light meaning peace, the shadow meaning war, the branch being an extended offer of peace, the arrow the fired missile of war. For whatever reason, we are more inclined to acts of violence than diplomacy. This song for me was kind of the opposite of Emptiness Machine, in that I was really into this one lyrically, much more meaningful and interesting, but musically it didn't really click. If they could just harmonise the two, they could make this irrelevant man's opinion shine on them yet. And it didn't cut the bridge. Oh, this is the Arcane song. Okay, so I've heard this one before, but only within the context of one of my all-time favourite TV shows. Outside of that, will I like it more or less? I love the low-pass, old-timey opening section. It feels like the start of a post-apocalyptic game show. Fitting following the previous track. It's pouring in, you're laid out on the floor again. One knock at the door and then we both know how the story ends. You can't win if your white flag's out before the war begins. Hang on, is this a concept album? I didn't think it was, but you know I'm about to get all giddy if it turns out that it is. The first track is about the haters, that's fine. Openers aren't always part of a story album. But the last track appeared to preempt war, and now this track seems to be a direct threat of war. Coincidence? Possibly. These opening lines are an explicit threat. If it comes to violence, you'll lose, and you know it. Today's going to be the day you notice because I'm tired of explaining what the joke is. When I was a wee lad, I remember accompanying some friends to what was apparently going to be a fight with some older boys. They were only a couple of years older, so probably only a couple of inches taller, but in my memory there was about a 3 feet gap. Anyway, the main antagonist had his back to us, and when confronted he turned, looked us up and down, and said, "Fetch the father." For those who don't speak Yorkshire, that means, "You are no threat to me, go and fetch your dad and I'll beat him up instead." This lyric reminds me of that, only we understood that our attempts at coming off threatening were being laughed at. This is what you asked for, heavy is the crown. Fire in the sunrise, ashes raining down. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, an old Shakespeare quote that often gets shortened to heavy is the crown, simply meaning that taking on the burden of leadership is not something to take lightly, and indeed is something that most people cannot endure. The second half of this line speaks of the destruction that is to come, presumably as a result of this leader's folly. Say you don't want what you can't resist, waving that sword when the pen won't miss. Alluding to another old phrase here, the pen is mightier than the sword, meaning that works of art, literature, or even just acts of diplomacy can be far more effective than acts of violence. Perhaps the ashes raining down are not literal but figurative, as justice comes for this false king in the form of documentation. Is this fact done again? Almost certainly. This is the best song on the album yet for me. Great energy, good lyrics, I really enjoyed this one. And it cut the bridge! Maybe they got the titles the wrong way round, that must be it. This one vocally is an Emily solo track, and is a bit of a departure from the previous tracks. Not a concept then, but that's okay, let's see what the new girl's got. This is the letter that I didn't write, looking for colour in the black and white. Skyscrapers we created on shaky ground and I'm trying to find my patience. A clear, concise opening explaining where we are and what we're writing. These are the emotions that we've struggled to put into words, failing to convert the colourful intricacies into something as black and white as written word. We reach for the stars with unstable footing, and have presumably fallen. We are erratic, keen to pick up and try again, but unable to do so. But you won't let me breathe and I'm not ever right. There's nothing underneath, it's all a waste of time. All we are is talking over each other. And this is why we cannot start again, as we are not being offered the space or freedom to do so. Everything we do is wrong, in our addressee's eyes, and where once there was a relationship there is now nothing left. Again though, as in Cut the Bridge, the writer admits their own fault, stating that we're talking over each other, that this is a two-way street of failed communication. Are we over each other? Just as talking over each other has an obvious meaning of interrupting one another, they are also both talking and acting like they are over each other in a romantic sense. I can't go to sleep, I lie awake at night. So say what's underneath, I want to see your side. We don't have to be talking over each other. Maybe this does follow on from the previous songs and I've just been reading them wrong, because this is an olive branch being outstretched, and this is a literal letter being written. The sword of arguing has been dropped in favour of the pen. Concept album back on, here we go. Oh yeah, this song is fantastic, the best so far, more of this please. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how much I'm enjoying this album so far. Okay, so this is a heavy one, got ya. Be warned, I listen to a lot of heavy music, and so merely being heavy won't be enough to get a win from me, it needs to be good too. Let me out, set me free, I know all the secrets you keep, I won't be your casualty. Yeah, this is a concept album, I won't be dissuaded. Olive branch rejected, swords redrawn. We are now adamant that we will not be taken advantage of or made example of. I got too complacent, bleached in the eyes, put through the paces but I got left behind. Mirroring lyrics from previous songs? This is actually a concept, isn't it? It's not just me making 7 from 2 plus 2 to fit my channel's narrative. Stop telling me you're something you're not. I can see the greed right in your eyes, hanging on a barefaced lie. It's only a matter of time. See, but this feels more like speaking to a politician again. Although could over each other have been about the discourse between the two sides of the political spectrum? Damn it, I'm an addict. It's just that lots of these songs share a political theme, and as Americans that theme is that all politicians are liars who want to burn the world. And well, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a through line for a concept album. I'm gonna keep going with it because I love it. Not too much to say about this song. It's short, punchy, pretty good, but definitely a drop off from the last couple. I'm not going to try and type or speak backwards because my brain is really bad at that, but this song opens with and features throughout a sample of Emily saying "I can't hear myself think" over and over, played backwards. I'm intrigued by a song that uses this to set the tone. Last time I was hanging by a thread, trying to say I'm not but I'm over my head. That's when I figured out where it led, beginning to realise that you put me over the edge. Hate to say it, as to this point I've quite liked the lyrics, but this feels quite schoolboyish. It's expressing that we've been pushed too far this time and that we've gone beyond what we can handle, but it feels a bit clunky, which is a shame as this one starts out hot musically and thematically. Your truth is rigid, your rules aren't fair. The dark's too vivid, the light's not there. I start to give in but I can't bear to put it all behind. I run into it blind. I've hit a bit of wall with the album now. Serves me right for saying how much I enjoy it when I wasn't even halfway through. Sonically, this is one of the better songs, but the lyrics are just saying things that previous songs have already said better. Last time you told me it wasn't true, and pointing every finger at things you didn't do. So that's why I kept missing the clues and never realised that the one that did it was you. Okay, I've found my issue. First off, this is very clunkily written again. But my main issue is that if this is a conceptual album, then we do know that these people have lied to us and tried to hurt us, as that's what all the other songs are about. And if this isn't a conceptual record and each song is supposed to stand alone, then what did they lie about? I'm not saying that lyrics need to spell out what happened, far from it, but this is so vague that I don't feel like anything in particular is being expressed. And worse, this realisation is hurting my appreciation of previous tracks. Actually, this song also says it's too late for choosing sides, but didn't the war already start? Maybe this song is just too late in the running order. A more industrial sound to this one, certainly interesting enough to pull me back in. Let's see what it's saying. Hand on my mouth, I shouldn't have said it. Gave you a chance, already regret it. Trying so hard to be sympathetic, but I know where it's gonna go if I let it, and I let it. Returning things once again, but this is an interesting spin. We've extended the olive branch, perhaps even apologised, but we've been proven wrong as the object of our sympathy has proven themselves unworthy of it. Knowing you're hiding what no one else sees, closed-lipped smile because there's blood on your teeth. Right, okay, here we go. That's a really good line, again going after the predators among us, the wolves in sheep's clothing, and calling them out for what they pretend not to be. Much better. What you forget you're going to repeat. You don't get to make amends like your hands are still clean. You've made the same mistake once again and we won't let you get away with it this time. We'll expose you for who you really are. It's another song that's inevitable from an American band in the political climate they're forced to live under. And as a Brit, I'm not that far behind you. You try to hide the mark but it won't fade. You lie and lie like I was nothing, pretend you're spotless but I don't wash away, and now you're stained. The I here is very interesting. We are the thing that stains them, it's our blood that's in their teeth. And rather than allowing them to wash that away, we point it out for the rest of the world to see. This might be the best song on the album. Sweat in your hands while the time starts ticking, tripping on words, alibi starts slipping. Want to wake from the nightmare you've been living, but we both know forgotten doesn't mean forgiven. I don't have anything new to say, these lyrics mean the same as the previous ones, but they're just really, really good, so I want to put them in the video. One more and then we'll move on. And someday your hands will be too red to hide the blame. This is where the album feels like it should have been leading the entire time. Fleshed out lyrics with really strong imagery, experimental musicianships to accent the themes of industry exploiting workers. Excellent. Gold star for Stained. The song, I mean, not that band. Okay, here comes Linkin Park's answer to Atia Heel Heel. A much shorter acronym, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and a much shorter wait to figure out what it means. So, the question, I give you everything I have. The official, or most official I can find, lyric sheet has this as a present tense give, but I hear gave. Either way, it doesn't change too much. And I don't think I need to say that I give/gave you everything I have isn't a question. Let's see where they go from here. I'm cracking and opened wide, dying for one drop. Your remedies hypnotise, I never say stop. Every rock metal album is obliged to contain at least one substance abuse/addiction song. We know this and we love this. Also, this song slaps. And the clock keeps ticking, the rules aren't written. I'm trying to remember how to make up my mind. It's been so long since we managed to make a decision on whether to commit to giving up our dependence that the time is running out for us to do so. There's no definitive endpoint, but we can feel it coming nonetheless. Forgotten doesn't mean that it's forgiven this time. This is a concept album. I knew it. We call back to the previous song, one that I chalked up as being an attack at current US politics, and I stand by that, whereas this one feels more like a personal addiction. Although perhaps the addiction could be capitalism? Consumerism? Fat Don is the standard bearer for that particular ideology, is he not? Let's get to a full chorus and see how this interpretation fits. I give you everything I have, all you give me is your ugliness. You're not as honest as you act, just a devil with a god complex. I'm not the enemy you make me out to be. You know what, I'm gonna stick my neck out here, and if I'm wrong, I'll accept that and it's fine. I don't think this was originally a concept album. Then they recognised similarities in a lot of the lyrical themes and decided to turn it into one. That's not a bad thing, it's not criticism, just an observation. I think this was originally a drug-based song, but then this shifted slightly to conform with what came before. It still works either way. From now on, I don't need you. This repeated mantra that we end on serves as a rallying cry to either break this habit for good, or take them down, or both. This is a really good song on a hit and miss album, but if we can stick the landing, I reckon we can call this a success. That guitar tone is incredibly 30 Seconds to Mars, and I'm not sure that I like that. Feels like it's rained in my head for 100 days. Stare in the mirror and I look for another face. And I get so tired of putting out fires and making up lies, checking my eyes for some kind of light but nothing's inside. And it's a depression song. I have a mixed record with these. As someone who's battled depression for 2 decades basically non-stop, I'm well versed in how this goes, and songs about it either resonate with me just right, not enough, or sometimes too much, but that's not the song's fault. So far we've hit on that sliding point, the moment where you recognise that you've not been feeling emotions and struggle to recall when you last did. This is real, it happens, and it's as grim as it sounds. These lyrics express that well, especially the part about hiding it, not just from others but also from yourself. And I say I hate you when I don't, push you away when you get too close. We all know that the best thing to do when you're struggling is to allow people in and speak to them honestly, but that's far more difficult than it should be. There's a shame, a fear, an irrational desire to keep it all hidden, and so we reject love when it tries to come to us. Also, this chorus reminds me of another song, a pop song I think. I'll see if editor me can recall and put it in here. Might as well say at this point the lyrics are getting a passing grade from me, but musically this one isn't really doing it. Only you can save me from a lack of self-control. Sometimes bad things take the place where good things go. Who is you? We've already pushed away the people who want to care. Who's left? Our lover? Ourselves? I've asked for forgiveness 100 times, believed it myself when I halfway apologised, and it's not unfair, I'm asking for prayers but nobody cares. They do care, we just rejected their care, their prayers as it were. This is yet more very realistic depressed state reasoning. We push away potential intimacy then complain that nobody cares about us. Yeah, this one's a bit real. No, I'm just taking a shot. Maybe I'm just too eager, maybe I lost the plot. A sudden surge of hopeful passion often follows realisations like the ones expressed so far. You notice that you've been pushing people away and avoiding your feelings and so try to overcompensate. As you can imagine, it doesn't tend to go too well. This song is lyrically excellent but musically not so good. I feel like lots of the songs on this album only hit one of the two, and that's a real shame. Also, I don't think this song really fits our overall concept. It never was a concept album, was it? It's just me. I just do this. On the whole, this album is okay. It's fine. I'm not disappointed, but I don't really see myself listening to it that much either. What I was afraid would happen is exactly what has happened. They've been surpassed by the bands that call them an influence. This album falls short of the quality of a Holding Absence, a Sleep Token, or most notably a Bring Me the Horizon, who've modelled their careers on taking the LP sound and building it for the next generation. Were this album released under a non-Linkin Park label, I think it will still be decently reviewed, but nowhere near as successful as it's proved to be. If you want new music in this vein, I'd suggest checking out House of Protection's debut EP. That is a signal of where this genre is headed. There's some good songs on here, a couple of very good ones, but also a few too many forgettable ones. Lyrically it was interesting, and I enjoyed trying to fashion connections, but a lot of the writing fell just short of being meaty enough to really get into. A solid return though, and I'll definitely listen to Linkin Park's next release. This has been Exploring the Concept. I've been Royston Charmaine, and until the future, drive safe.